Okay, today is January 17th, 2025, and this concluded my first writing session, my first official writing session for Sirius Limnic Escape from Okinawa. And I swear, it just doesn't get any easier to start a writing project. And I found myself this morning entertaining another nonfiction project and thinking about how I could get that off the ground. And I saw myself going down the rabbit hole and developing that idea and book cover and title and all that stuff. And then finally I was like, Keith, you have to stop. You're doing it again. And it was in that moment that it was like, I'm putting this off because I'm afraid to start this. Like, well, I'm not really afraid, but I don't know how to start. And I think because when you finish a novel, or at least when I finish a novel, you see kind of the end result and you forget what it was like to be in that raw form, that raw, unfinished, and you're just starting from scratch again. You're starting from zero. I've done all the preliminary work. I've compiled my notes. I've thought about this idea for years and what I want the story to do and big picture, how it's going to flow, the characters, the themes, all of these things. I've thought of all of that. I know exactly what I have to do. But damn, that just when that literally rubber meeting the road, like, okay, now you need to start writing this. And it's not going to look exactly like you want it to in the very beginning. That's, even for me now, that's a hard thing. And I've written a lot of fiction at this point. I've written a lot in general. And it's just hard to see something in its just raw, vulnerable form to where you know you're going to have to do a lot of tweaking. You're going to have to do a lot of editing. And the whole process starts over again. But finally, when I overcame that, when I just start writing, because I have so many plans for this story. You know, I want to put culture in there and Chinese in there. I want to, put these puzzles in there. I want to do all of these things, but then I had to just strip it back and just be like, I'm never going to get anything done unless I just put something on the screen. And unless you write, that's the only way. And I know so many authors out there, writers, who want to be authors or want to be novelists specifically in this context. They let this happen. They psych themselves out and are like, well, it's not looking exactly how I wanted it to look on the first pass, so I just can't do it. I'm not a good writer, or it's just too hard. I don't know what to do. And man, it doesn't go away. It does not go away. I wish it did, but yeah, it's just kind of one of those things you have to deal with. And I'm so happy I did, because I wrote about 500 words. I wrote for about maybe a little over under an hour this morning, and I found that it did just kind of flow. I always had an initial idea for this initial scene. Basically, it involves the perspective of the guy who will become the primary investigating official for the Space Force side for the invasion of Okinawa in this story, and kind of his viewpoint of what the initial invasion looks like and what that feels like. So you're getting this perspective of, I set it on Torrey Beach. I love setting it on Torrey Beach. One, because I loved Torrey Beach in Okinawa. It faces east, so it faces the direction of China. And that's basically where I lived when I was in Okinawa. I lived in a place that always faced that direction. I always thought, and I would joke to my wife, like, the sea would be so calm and it's just very beautiful. But what would that look like if one day randomly you just saw warships just coming across the water? And and they had all the, the weapons. You didn't know what they would do. You see the flag flying, you see the fleets coming, you see the planes, and it's a really scary thought. It just is. And so I wanted to not focus on that fear aspect, but more of like the environment and what happens. And because and this is what happens. And I love that I'm reading Infinite Jest right now, because one of Wallace's many strengths as a writer is just the way he portrays character, which I'm still working on, but just the sense of immersion that he has. It doesn't feel like there's a separate narrator, even though it is being narrated a lot. It's and then it slips in the first person of the character. It's really tight on the character to where you just almost can't tell. It doesn't even feel over the shoulder, over like behind, like third person view, like in a video game. It's like over the shoulder view, basically. It's like Resident Evil. That's what it feels like. Very visceral. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, then you just have to read the book to tell. But I saw myself channeling a little bit of that. My approach to the conversational type prose, even though there's zero dialogue so far in this scene, I feel like I really hit the descriptive points well. Just really captured the environment of what I wanted to say with this. And yeah, the result is something I haven't gone back and reread it yet because I just wanted to flow. But just getting through that initial, okay, you have to start and just get something down. And of course, this scene will be tweaked. This is the first scene. So first scenes are always get a lot of attention because they need a lot of attention. This is basically the reader's tutorial to this book. How to read this book. What is this book about? How is it written? What kind of things can we expect? And of course, it has to jump off of the story and the main conflict and all that stuff, which I feel like is pretty obvious, and that box has been checked successfully, even with this writing. But there's a lot of other boxes that I need to go back and tick. I know it with this first part, but I'm just glad I took the first step today. And I'll leave this recording at that.